Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, Democrats set a deadline. The demand for new information in the Trump impeachment inquiry and reaction from a presidential candidate who is in San Diego tonight. Pushback on a plan to keep immigrant children locked up. A judge blocks the president's controversial move.
The only way to reach them is through influencers and content creators, and this is where they are.
And San Diego is ground zero for gamers. This weekend we'll take you to TwitchCon 2019. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. It's Friday, September 27th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. We begin with new developments tonight in the impeachment inquiry into President Trump's phone call with the president of Ukraine. House committees led by Democrats have set a one-week deadline for the administration to hand over key documents. The subpoena orders Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to comply by next Friday. The House is investigating a whistleblower complaint that President Trump asked Ukraine's president to investigate Joe Biden's family. Meanwhile, another Democrat running for president is in San Diego tonight. Julian Castro talked with KPBS about the scandal that's rattled Washington and the 2020 race.
This is completely off the rails for a president. More and more American people realize that he should be nowhere near the Oval Office. And that's why you see more Americans supporting every day, impeaching him and removing him.
Castro is a guest of the Latitude Conference, which focuses on economic opportunities for Latino communities. Another Democratic candidate, Elizabeth Warren, will hold a town hall in San Diego next week. The impeachment inquiry is a story KPBS and our partner NPR is closely following. We're going to toss now to Matt Hoffman. Matt, are you out there?
Yeah, Maya, we're here downtown in the Gaslamp getting ready for TwitchCon. TwitchCon is here. Today is the first day of this weekend celebration. Now, Twitch is very popular. It's a streaming platform. Basically, TwitchCon is a celebration of streamers and their fans. Now, behind me in the convention center is where it's happening. 15 million people a day visit Twitch, and that's growing. Now, in the convention center here, they're expecting 25,000 people a day. Me and our cameraman, Nick, got a chance to see what's inside. We made it inside the convention center for TwitchCon. Let's go find out what makes this platform so popular. At the core of Twitch is live streaming video games, and there's plenty of gaming going on today. Check out this stage. All weekend long, gamers are going to be competing for more than $1 million in prize money.
Anybody who's 15 to 35 is probably one of the most coveted demographic in the market today. These are the big spenders of the next 20 years, and you want to build your brand with these guys, and there is no other medium where you can find them. They're just unreachable. They're watching this medium all day long, all week long.
Oh, hi! Yeah! So cute.
The only way to reach them is through influencers and content creators, and this is where they are.
Is it going?
Yeah, it's going, it's going.
Ah. Wait, here, let me see.
Can you see us? And so when you started, you were at 0, and I think, how many followers do you have now?
On Twitch?
Yeah.
Almost 130K.
Right, and over 6 million views, right?
Yeah.
Do you do any advertising stuff, or like, do people like send you products and stuff, or how does that?
Yeah. Do a lot of promotional videos, pictures, do some tweets.
Okay, oh, like paid tweets and stuff?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Or like wear their products on stream or show it off.
With the setup like this, people have like their phones on selfie sticks. Is that like called a certain thing, or like what is that?
I mean, that is also like in real life streaming, so we call it IRL.
Do you foresee staying on the platform, or what's like your future career goals, or how does that?
Well, Twitch is not a forever job. It's a, like, I love Twitch with all my heart, but they kind of help us to go into like careers in the gaming industry.
Yeah, and as you can see, it was a lot of fun in there. Unfortunately, unlike Comic-Con, outside the convention center, there's not a whole lot to do yet. But Twitch is growing. They expect these conventions to get even bigger, and they expect to eventually have a lot of stuff going on outside. But it's just really a lot of fun. And as you heard there, lots of opportunities in the gaming industry. But it's not just gaming that's on Twitch. It's expanding to things like cooking shows, sports, and more. Here in the Gas Lamp, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Thanks for that report, Matt. What was one of your favorite things out there?
Oh, there was a lot going on inside there. There was this they're showing off some new technology. There was like a race car where you can get in, and it's like an actual car, but it's on like stilts, which is a ton of fun. But I think the best part of today was just meeting some of the streamers that were there. They get these millions of views like every month, every couple of months, and they're very humble, and they're the ones that are creating this platform, and that's what's drawing these young people in, is the streamers. They're the ones that are selling them these products, and it's just very interesting how a lot of these millennials now and a lot of young people are going toward platforms like Twitch and other streaming platforms.
Thanks so much, Matt. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman. And that's just part of our coverage from TwitchCon. A bit later in the show, we're going to dive into the world of e-gaming. It's a global entertainment phenomenon, and San Diego has a role in its growth. We're going to look at the local gaming community. That's coming up. A federal judge has blocked a Trump administration rule that would indefinitely detain immigrant families along the border. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler just returned from Los Angeles. He has more on the ruling and its impact. Max?
Maya, Los Angeles federal judge Dolly M.G. issued a permanent injunction blocking the new rule. It sought to terminate the long-standing Flores settlement agreement, which limits the time minors can spend in immigrant detention to 20 days. G said that the government would have to issue a new rule in line with the agreement or have Congress create new laws regarding the detention of minors. The lawyers for the plaintiffs celebrated the ruling outside the courthouse. Attorney Carlos Holguin was one of the lead litigators in the case that led to the settlement in 1997, and once again defended it in court on Friday.
This is a straight-ahead issue of contract law that the court ruled on, and the government needs to appreciate that it has made an obligation, it has made a bargain, and it needs to live up to it.
The government is expected to appeal the injunction to the Ninth Circuit. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
The Democratic-controlled House is trying for a second time to overturn President Trump's use of emergency powers to shift funds to pay for a border fence. The last vote of 236 to 174 sent the legislation to the president, who is expected to veto it. This vote follows the release of a list of military construction projects totaling $3.6 billion that will be canceled to pay for the wall. Congressman Duncan Hunter will get another chance to have the corruption case against him dismissed. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has agreed to hear Hunter's appeal in December. He faces trial in January on charges related to the alleged misuse of campaign money. A lower court rejected Hunter's request in July. Elected officials from across San Diego County today gave a kickstart to several transportation projects. But KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says part of the move may violate state climate laws.
It was a full house at the morning meeting of the transportation agency Sandag. Staff had proposed fast-tracking planning and design work on dozens of projects, including new rail lines and highway connectors. Board members approved most of those, but cut one project in exchange for design work on a widening of Highway 78 in North County. County Supervisor Kristen Gaspar supported that move.
If you look at the dollars, let's be clear. This is balance. There is not a roads versus transit debate to be had here.
Executive Director Hassan Ikrata told board members the change in funding could still put Sandag in legal jeopardy. That's because the agency is required to significantly reduce car travel, and highway widenings do the opposite.
You know, it's easy to say we all want to reduce greenhouse gas emission. I will guarantee you that if we build this project, which we don't have money to build, like I said earlier, this will increase vehicle mile travel and greenhouse gas emission.
Sandag also approved funding to purchase new trains for the coaster and trolley systems to enable more frequent transit service. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
After weeks of a meticulous investigation, there is still no official cause of this month's deadly boat fire off the Channel Islands. 34 people died in the disaster, including a woman from San Diego. 5 crew members who were sleeping above deck survived. Federal investigators say they can't identify the cause of the fire, but additional tests will be done. Coast Guard records show the scuba diving vessel passed its 2 most recent safety inspections. After a 9-month hiatus, the Crossroads of the West gun show returns to Del Mar this weekend. A federal judge issued a preliminary injunction allowing the gun show to return after the Del Mar Fairgrounds Board voted to temporarily suspend shows during 2019. Public outcry led to that decision. Many residents, anti-gun groups, and politicians opposed the gun show due to the increase of mass shootings and a call for stricter gun laws. Gun show supporters argued it was a constitutionally protected right. Both sides are expected to demonstrate at the fairgrounds throughout the weekend. And fall is here, and so is the flu. In fact, 2 people have already died in San Diego County. KPBS health reporter Taryn Mento says that prompted the county to begin its weekly flu reports a bit earlier this season.
Inside the San Diego County Public Health Laboratory, microbiologist Anthony Aziz walks through the steps of testing a nasal swab for influenza.
Vortexing it will increase the chances of actually obtaining a possible PCR reading.
San Diego County is already seeing more cases than this time last year. The county's Dr. Eric McDonald says nearly 200 people have already tested positive for the flu.
Which is a little higher than what we would expect at this point in the year, but it's about the same as it was at this point 2 years ago, and that was a very severe season.
This season's initial activity encouraged the county to launch its weekly flu reports next week instead of mid-October. The updates will include confirmed cases and any fatalities. But McDonald says the county may appear to have more deaths than other regions because the state only requires the reporting of fatalities for patients under 18 years old. San Diego reports all deaths.
We, for example, 2 years ago, identified over 340 deaths in that influenza season, and that was more than a lot of other locations across the state. And people said, "Gee, you're reporting a lot of deaths, so it's just we're good at reporting. It doesn't mean that deaths aren't occurring elsewhere."
The county's weekly flu reports will begin on Wednesday. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
Is impeachment in the future for embattled President Donald Trump? An investigation into San Diego County's jail system raises concerns, and SDG&E pushes for rate changes. How much could it cost us consumers? Tonight at 8:30 on The Round Table.
Earlier in the show, we took you to TwitchCon. It makes sense it's happening in San Diego, given a small but growing local economy for video game competition, otherwise known as eSports. KPBS science and technology reporter Shalina Chatlani has the story.
Oh, he gets the guard crush, but he doesn't get the follow-up.
It's Tuesday night at GameSync in Kearney Mesa. Video game enthusiasts are giving play-by-play of a heated round of a martial arts fighting game. They're in front of a computer, live streaming it out to fans on the web platform Twitch.
Comes down to this next game. Brago, let us know. If you like Coda, let us know. Just cheer for your boys.
Over a dozen screens are lit up with at least 30 players in the room. On Thursday nights, a Smash Brothers Ultimate competition typically brings in over 100 people. While a few folks are providing color commentary, others are playing, having paid $5 to enter a competition for a cash prize. It's all part of a phenomenon known as eSports.
So eSports is, simply put, competitive gaming, and you can think of it as a traditional sport, but obviously it's all done with gaming systems online.
Agregati Siegel is the owner of GameSync. He pivoted from working on computers to opening the center in 2012.
Think of our business like a movie theater. You go in on the weekend, everybody piles in, they buy their snacks and their drinks, and they pay for the film. Here, you're having an entertainment experience where you're buying time by the hour.
GameSync is still only one of a few gaming centers in the city, and he says he brings in a small profit. But he says he's also confident the local industry will grow, especially since global figures suggest that it will. At TwitchCon, I caught up with Zachary Snyder of the esports analyst group Newzoo.
Esports is currently valued at over $1 billion if you account for all the revenues across the space right now.
Snyder says even pessimistic forecasts show industry revenue will grow by 10% year over year. He says the West Coast is already a major hub of esports activity. And that's because the industry isn't just about gamers.
Everything from leagues that are run by the publishers that have professional teams. These teams have players associated with them, and there's all sorts of content that they create. That content and these leagues, these teams, there's all these different sponsorship elements as well.
There are also online content platforms like Twitch that are streaming the games, advertisers, consultants, company sponsors for teams, and the list goes on, much like a traditional sports ecosystem. And some professional players can win millions.
To give you an example of just how much money is involved here, we're at TwitchCon, and one of the Twitch Rivals competitions, a Fortnite competition, is about to take off again, and the prize tonight is $1 million.
So obviously it's not just small businesses like GameSync that are getting in on the game. I spoke to Convention Center CEO Clifford Ripto to hear his take on why it's such a no-brainer to invest in an event like this.
So TwitchCon is going to put us on the map technologically, similar to the way that Comic-Con has put us on the map internationally and as a brand.
Ripto says the convention center had to upgrade its technology to host TwitchCon. He says that investment will help it bring in other events demanding the same capability. And those events are also likely to bring in younger generations.
The ability for technology to not only create a business platform, but also a sport and entertainment platform is here. And it's going to stay from my point of view.
Ripto says TwitchCon is an example of how the esports industry can bring people who are willing to spend money into the city. And back at GameSync, it's clear just how the industry is doing that. Business owner Siegel says many esports teams from out of town are practicing at the center for TwitchCon.
I think what you see in San Diego is a lot of opportunity.
Already there are a number of local college teams from schools like UC San Diego and major game publishers like Psyonix. But that's not enough for Siegel. He wants to expand, and it's still a challenge for him to find partners.
The biggest challenge to expand my business here in San Diego has been educating potential investors and partners and co-founders on the opportunities here.
Siegel says as the industry gets more attention through events like TwitchCon, it's just a matter of time for esports to go mainstream.
And if you can't already tell from the crowds of people around me, web streaming platforms like Twitch are becoming just as popular as YouTube and Netflix. Chalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
The Sacramento police officers who killed a man last March will not face federal charges and are back at work. The U.S. Attorney's Office and FBI announced there was insufficient evidence to prove the men used unreasonable force in the altercation that led to the death of 22-year-old Stephon Clark. Last March, Clark was shot 7 times, and police say they believed he was holding a gun, but he was unarmed and holding a cell phone. The shooting led to reforms in California police departments, including the Shirley Weber legislation that passed in May. The bill restricts the police use of force statewide. And the skies above Miramar will be busy over the weekend as the 64th Miramar Air Show kicks off today. The 3-day event at the Marine Corps Air Station Miramar is free and open to the public. This year's theme is a salute to first responders, honoring local firefighters, police, and emergency workers. Gates open at 8 a.m. for the outdoor event, but will it be dry or will we see some rain? For those answers, we turn to Daji Aswad with tonight's forecast.
For your Friday, we're still looking at this onshore flow strengthening, and that's going to bring in some of drizzle that some of us really don't care for, as well as some low clouds. So tonight, expect that here in the metro with a low of 67. Moving into the futurecast here, clouds are going to be in full effect as our marine layer deepens, as we're going to be tracking out an upper level trough. That's also going to help bring in some of that drizzle as we move into your Saturday morning. So for tonight, you're looking at a low of 63 in Oceanside, cooling down into the upper 60s here in San Diego, 66 in Borrego Springs, and 50 for Mount Laguna. Not a lot of wet weather, but noticing changes really beginning to happen. So we'll be tracking out in the upper atmosphere, an upper level trough at the surface. That's going to be equating to a low pressure and cold front, and that's going to usher in much cooler conditions through California. And eventually some of that cool air is going to be surging its way into Southern California for the extended forecast. Ahead of that boundary, we are once again going to notice the clouds in full effect for Oceanside and San Diego, anywhere on that coast coastline. As you head further inland, still going to be some clouds, but definitely a chance at some sun to come through. And in Mount Laguna with a high of 62 and 87 in Borrego Springs. We'll continue to see our temperatures a tad bit below average through the end of the weekend. As for early week, we are still looking at this cold batch of air to our north. And as you know, some of that will eventually try to slip its way a little further to the south. Out to the eastern half of the country, we have a ridge, so a completely different story from the west coast because temperatures are going to continue to skyrocket as you head further to the east across the United States. We're topping off in the lower 70s at the coast for the next several days with a chance for some low clouds to break on Sunday. Better chance for some sunshine to roll into your forecast Monday, Tuesday, and notice temperatures going up by midweek. Inland areas also seeing this temperature swing here. Lower 70s Sunday and in fact rain and drizzle potentially tomorrow. Sunday's going to be drier, but still on the cool side, and then temperatures holding on to some of that cool air Monday and Tuesday with some temperatures trying to moderate into the lower 80s. As for the mountains, you're looking at that cool down for Sunday, Monday, as well as Tuesday. Then some temperatures in the upper 60s, topping off at 82 on Sunday. Here in the deserts, feeling cool through your Monday. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm your meteorologist, Dajia Swad. Back to you.
And we're here with Miro Kopik. He's marketing strategist at SDSU and co-founder of Bottom Line Marketing. Welcome, Miro.
Thanks, Maya.
Now, we're seeing new signs of strength in the housing market. Can you tell us what's happening on a local and then a national level, please?
Sure. We're seeing here locally an increase in housing prices. It's been a little bit of a difficult market in San Diego. Our housing prices have increased year to date through July, 2%, which is doubling from where we were at the end of June. So that's great news. Actually, we're leading the way in terms of housing price increases, which is good and bad news for some. Versus any other city in the state of California, San Francisco saw no increase in prices. LA just 1.1%. And one of the reasons why, compared to last year saw really high growth. We saw 6% increases in housing prices. And a lot of this is because of the new tax code following the 2017 tax law that limits the amount of interest that a individual can deduct to up to only $10,000. So with high-cost homes in the city and in the state, it kind of dampens a little bit the growth in prices. And on a national level, what's happened is actually the number of home sales has increased by 17% in the last month. August is generally, kind of at the end of the summer buying season, and it has been 6 quarters of contraction in the number of homes sold in the U.S. and August was a big turnaround. The growth has all been out on the West Coast that saw 17% increase in home starts, and in the South, which saw 6% increase in home starts, but the Northeast and the Midwest saw big declines in housing starts. So it might suggest that although there may be some optimism, it's not really national.
Now, we're coming up on 2 years of legal marijuana sales, but businesses still can't use traditional banking methods.
Right.
How is Congress trying to change that?
Well, Congress just passed the SAFE Act. That stands for Secure and Fair Enforcement Banking Act of 2019. By a pretty big margin, 320 votes to about 100 votes. And what it does is it allows growers, dispensaries, manufacturers of cannabis products to actually bank with federally chartered banks. Right now, these organizations cannot bank. They can't take credit cards. They can't get loans. So if for people who go, they have to pay cash. Sometimes they don't have the cash. So what also happens is it takes away a little bit from the tax base, because if you are able to open it up where I can expand these businesses or I can accept credit cards, the demand might actually go up quite a bit. Right now, the risk for these businesses is not only the fact that they have to take all cash, they're targets for crime, both extortion or they can be robbed and stuff can be taken because where are they putting the cash? Right. And also, they can be targets for money laundering. And one of the reasons the banks are really nervous and why they're very glad and they supported this act is that it protects them from money laundering suits from the federal government. And that's super important for banks in order to feel comfortable, because they claim, look, these businesses are here, they're improving the community, they should be part of that growth.
Right. And earlier in the show, we heard about TwitchCon, and of course, the measuring stick in San Diego is Comic-Con.
Right.
Tell us how it stacks up.
Well, TwitchCon, is about 5 times smaller than Comic-Con. Yeah. Comic-Con gets 130,000 people. It's a global event. But you know what? TwitchCon is quickly rising. It launched in 2015. It's actually supporting an individual platform, Twitch, which is actually owned by Amazon. Amazon bought it in 2014 for $1 billion. In the last 3 months alone, over 2.7 billion live streaming hours have been viewed on Twitch, which is bigger than YouTube gaming and Facebook gaming combined by a factor of 3. So this is really big. This is the second time they've been back in San Diego. It looks like they're going to come back a third time, and the event is so big, there's going to be a big concert at Petco, a lot of costume plays, so it's very reminiscent of Comic-Con, and there's going to be an American Idol-like singing contest where someone's going to get a record deal. So pretty fun thing to do.
Yeah, a lot of activity. Miro Kopik, thanks for joining us for the Friday Business Report.
Thanks, Maya.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the impeachment inquiry intensifies as a whistleblower's concerns are increasingly verified. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And as always, you can find tonight's stories on our website. That's kpbs.org/evening edition. We leave you tonight with music from Live at the Belly Up. It airs tonight at 11, right here on KPBS. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.